Good evening and welcome to the Gettysburg Area School District's Board of Directors meeting. Just as some housekeeping notes, after last board meeting 2 weeks ago, the board held a workshop immediately following, and this evening we held a fact-finding session with the administration. No deliberations occurred, no decisions. Having said that, the purpose of this meeting is to conduct the business of the Gettysburg Area School District. Board of Directors meetings or committee meetings are open to public but are not public meetings. All school district residents who wish to make public comment should sign in prior to the start of the meeting and request to speak during citizens' participation. Excuse me. Public comment is welcome, and all issues will refer to the appropriate board committee or administrator. Comments are always summarized in official board minutes, and they can be made available by contacting the business office. Please take a moment and silence any electric devices, including your cell phones. We have 2 members currently absent. I think you can see Jeremy and Mike. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to go past notices and communications. Board members, you can see some items there in terms of food service report, etc. That's on your agenda form. That leads us to citizen participation. Al.
Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome everyone. We have one person tonight that is asked to address the board, Mrs. Justine Zig.
Good evening. I just came to speak tonight because of little bits and pieces that I've heard about the proposal for the team room. It's a large investment, $2.1 million, I guess $2,108,000, and just making sure that everybody's on board. It seems like an investment that may be a good one, maybe not. I'm curious because I think it's really going to benefit solely the football players. Thinking about athletics, I'm fully supportive of all programs, but I struggle to wrap my brain around such a large investment. And my understanding is it's a team room, so there's no lockers, and I'm not sure how the teams are benefiting from it. Football is the only team that has time at halftime to go to a team room. So you're, again, I just keep thinking $2.1 million, a lot of money to benefit maybe about 70 athletes in our district. I do think, so with that said, thinking of $2.1 million and where that could be spent, thinking of all of our athletes, you have no turf practice fields. So if we're thinking football, lacrosse, field hockey, soccer, could really benefit from a turf field at the high school. And I'm just wanting to make sure that hopefully the Finance Committee can bring forward, I know it's in the agenda and it's there, but hopefully when it comes to that item tonight that there's more shared for the general public to hear where that $2.1 million is coming from. And I know that there's bond money included in that. I know that there's also repairs that are being proposed to the visitor side, which is great. But just seems like maybe money could be spent elsewhere for our athletes again to benefit some others as well. So thank you.
Thank you. That's it?
That's it.
That brings us to our routine approvals. I'm going to ask for a consolidated motion 5.1, which is the agenda, 5.2, the financial report, 5.3, approval bus and van contractors, 5.4 is the approval of drivers, 5.5 is the approval of bus stops. 5.6, approval bus and van routes. 5.7, approval bus and van changes. 5.8, authorize superintendent approval. And 5.9 is the HR recommendations from the administration. May I have a motion for 5.1 through 5.9?
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion on the floor?
I-
Mr. President, I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. So 5.3 to 5.6, do we receive detailed information for each of these, such as the names of the actual bus and van routes in 5.6?
Yes, those attachments are in executive content for the board to see.
Thank you. I'll have to chat with someone about getting access to.
Any additional?
I have a question about 5.8. I just want to make sure that we're authorizing Dr. Matzner to essentially hire drivers, but then those drivers are going to come in front of us after the fact?
I think in the past, and Jeff, you can stop me if I'm wrong, is the superintendent has the approval to do the contracts and the hiring of the company or slash drivers, and then that list comes to us after it has been through administration for vote or board action. Is that accurate, Belinda? So, I think it's like everything else. When you look at a hiring process in a district outside of what we would refer to as the A-team, the offer would come from the administration. The board then would take into consideration the administration's recommendation, and ultimately each board member can make their individual vote as to whether or not they support that particular hire or that direction that the administration's going.
And Dr. Metzer, I'm assuming this gives you the agility to move more quickly in an area where almost every district that I'm aware of is fighting to try to find enough van and bus drivers. So this way we can get people on board a much more quickly.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Any additional question on the motion? Hearing on 5.1 through 5.9, roll call. Ryan.
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
Al.
Yes.
Alice.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
And I vote yes. That brings us to items for board action. 6.1, policy number 706.1, disposal of surplus property, equipment, supplies, and textbooks. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Question on 6.1 motion. Hearing none, roll call. Tim.
Yes.
Alice.
Yes.
Al.
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
And I vote yes. That brings us to our informational items. I'm going to go down through each of them individually. So if a board member has a particular question or needs or wants to share additional information, including the administration, just stop me. 7.1, it's ACTI 2526 budget amendment for personnel. Is there any questions on that informational item?
I don't know if it's a question as much as it's a comment, but maybe it is a question. The ACTI superintendent of record is now asking to be paid an additional stipend of $15,000. And we're trying to justify that by saying that it's due to land purchase and a building project. And I have a problem with that because what happens when the building project is over? Are we going to continue to pay the ACTI superintendent of record $15,000? Is it going to be like the Johnstown flood tax? I don't have a problem with the additional position for the allied health seat or the allied health teacher because we all know that we have plenty of kids that want to get in the program, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Eckenrode came in here and told us that he had to cut seats because he didn't have the teachers. I don't have a problem with that. But the collective bargaining, that, they made inaccurate amounts because, this is kind of ridiculous. As well as, an additional $30,000 for office personnel. They were making it pretty good with what they had previously, and now all of a sudden we're adding a whole lot of administrative positions to ACTI, and the program hasn't expanded yet. So I have a real issue with that. These are the, they're saying, well, it's inconsistent with salaries compared to similar districts. Well, I think we need to stop comparing ourselves with everybody else and do what we need to do to make things right here. Taxpayers want us to get our hands out of their pockets. That's pretty much all I have to say about it.
I would just, go ahead, Alice.
I have a question about the second bullet point, and I'm not sure what amount of information can be shared or by whom, but when talking about the collective bargaining negotiations still being in progress, that I understand when the original budget was submitted, but then it says some of the assumptions made were inaccurate and amounts were adjusted. So I'm curious about what types of, what would that have been about, types of assumptions that were inaccurate? Things that they had to forecast for the amount, but I don't know what category of money we're talking about here. Is there a person to ask this question to?
And see, go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I could certainly try to find out.
That'd
for
be
you.
great. Thank you.
So I can solve this real easily to some degree. On an informational item, if there's questions from individual board members, there's two distinct ways that we can go about getting that information. One is leading up once the agenda is released, reaching out to the administration and letting them either get the appropriate people here to answer the question, or if they're able to answer the question, in that given evening when it's presented. Outside of that not happening, which it is give or take, the only additional option, if members aren't satisfied and aren't prepared, and I don't mean by lack of preparation, but because they don't have the answers to their questions, and I'm not saying you have to satisfy every board member because that's not what's going to happen here. We can also run it for a second informational item to get those questions answered. So if we can't do it between now and the next board meeting, questions that each board member individually has, then we'll put it into an informational item and make sure that the appropriate people are here to answer it. Does that work? Because they're legitimate questions. I'm just trying to streamline it a little bit.
Yeah, I appreciate that. On my end, just an answer would be fine, so it's fine if that comes in an email.
You had several, so.
I think going to putting this as an informational item again would be appropriate, and maybe we wouldn't have so many questions if we would be getting a report from our ACTI rep.
I understand, so what I'll, seeing
that's
that
an
I make
issue.
the agenda, then I'll discuss it with Jeff and Matt. We'll see, how easy or how quickly we can get the questions that you pose here answered, and if not, we'll have somebody representing to their best of ability ACTI.
Mr. President, I appreciate everything that you're saying, and Alice, Michelle, I like your questions. Regarding the one question that Michelle was talking about regarding the bullet, regarding the superintendent of record. I know in York County, where they have 14 contributing schools that are fairly large, there is a superintendent of record. I believe in Cumberland Perry, it's more of a shared responsibility. I think it would be helpful for the board here to have an idea of what does the performance responsibilities look like for superintendent of record before we approve a pretty good stipend, an annual stipend that would help us out, I think. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I do have 3 questions I'd like to add to the mix. I'm curious to know why the part-time lab assistant position is difficult to fill. So that was the reason given for wanting an additional full-time faculty member. So I'm curious to know. I'm also curious to know the acting superintendent of record, has that been paid from another budget? Is that a volunteer position? So I'm curious to know that. And third, how many business office personnel are there for this $30,000 plus request?
2.
Thank you.
So I think moving forward, you would agree
Yeah.
and if you have additional after this evening, if you would you can email them to me and I'll move them forward. We'll see if we can't satisfy the answers and if we have to run as an informational item at the next meeting. I don't know if there's a time constraint on this particular item or not.
I can check with ACTI director.
Because I think we have to be conscious of the fact that we are one district of several, obviously. So we don't have the say all end all. I mean, the board votes how it votes. Other boards can vote how they vote. But I'll make sure that we address the concerns or questions at the next meeting. Next is 7.2. It's the team room bid review. I know in terms of discussion, and our speaker here this evening hit on some bullet points. Jeff, is there someone this evening that's going to give a quick overview?
Kevin, did you want to, or Josh?
What would you like to know?
Just a quick overview of the bid for the team room.
Please. The bid tabulation will be put up on the screen here in a moment. So we had several bidders, 3 general construction bidders. The lowest bid overall, including the MEP factors of the situation, with all add-alts resulted in 2.108, as she alluded to earlier. That the district's position is that we're not super excited about the viewing platform in that it presents 2, safety and staffing concerns. Just our view. So it's a 3,200 square foot box for rooms that will be used by any team that wants access to it, given the 80s availabilities. It is primarily for the football team in thought process, but it will house practice sessions for all teams that are on the field at the time when necessary. And it's pretty straightforward box in the hillside.
Vanessa, can you? Thank you.
Yeah, I thought you said thanks.
So,
Could you allude a little bit more about the sports medicine part of that, please?
Oh, absolutely. So there, either side has room for a team. The home team side is slightly larger, and then in the central location in the front of the building, there is like a T-shaped room that will have. It has a separate room for treating athletes with hot tub spas. It has a centralized location for taping and general needs, and then it has 2 storage locations and a restroom as well. So it's fully functional facility for health medicine as well as, or sports medicine as well as, athlete use.
And what, just for people, well, I'm realizing I don't know this, but I'm sure some of the public doesn't either. What are our sports medicine people doing, the athletic trainers, what are they using right now in terms of space for that?
Right now, the location they're using is inside this, in front of the locker rooms, between the locker rooms and the gym. So if there's truly, they have to tape up there and walk all the way down. They've been doing it for years. It hasn't been a bone of contention to this point, but it will provide them more access readily available on the field for more of the injury side of the side of the house. But just generally a centralized location for him to work from as opposed to 200 yards away up in the building.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? If not.
Yes, thank you. So I want to confirm 2 things are happening here. We are looking to renovate 1976 bleachers on the visitor side and building this team's room structure, right? And I want to acknowledge that before I joined you, the board and administration has worked really hard on all of this. But as we look to the possibility of shrinking income with federal rescission, I do have 2 questions that are related to each other. Is this over $2 million project? Is it a must-have? Is it a nice-to-have? And what do we lose by not moving forward, building a team's building?
Tim, was some of this addressed in the finance committee meeting or no? I wasn't there, that's why I'm asking.
Nothing about necessarily want or need. We've just been discussing the project itself. And I didn't catch the second part of your question.
What do we lose by not moving forward with this $2 million project?
Well, I know, and I'm pretty sure, and Kevin and Josh could correct me, but I know that they do have the place in the middle school they use now, but I don't know if, does that have the hot tubs and ice baths and that kind of stuff in that as well?
No, and it's to be fair to this concept of this room, the places they're working out of in the middle school are pretty tightened up. They have centralized lockers within the room that kind of prevent you from contributing, as a team. There's no sitting area for them to be around and just looking at each other's eyes. They have to be standing up around these lockers to see each other. So that was one of the driving forces for the thought process of this.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, and I know that people think it's just for the football team, and they're probably going to use it the majority of the time, and I get that. But there are no place other close, depending where you're at on the field, if you had lightning or inclement weather to go to. Like if you're at that end of the track, you have to run all the way to the school to get in somewhere. And this gives them a place to get out of that weather as well. Doesn't matter if it's lacrosse, field hockey, soccer, football, as well.
To a couple points, wasn't the driving force, at least if I'm going back almost 8 years now, was the inadequate room at the middle school across the board? Because we were hearing people in changing over were actually dressing or getting ready out in the parking lot because the room wasn't available or it was overcrowded.
I can't speak to 8 years ago, but
I'm saying from 8 years up until this point, that's what we continually heard. And I've watched them changing in the parking lot. In between, whether it's coming from lacrosse or the girls' soccer or whatever, people pulling in and changing that parking lot because the facilities were inadequate for the amount of people and athletes that we had there.
Well, I think the other thing was, President Hessner, is that the high school cannot use the middle school locker rooms because of middle school sporting events. So you can't have the middle school kids in the same locker room as the high school kids, so there was no place for them to go in because the middle school athletes were in there.
That's the changing I was talking about. You had the high school kids that were coming over, changing in a parking lot because middle school was running practices and utilizing the facilities at the time. And I'm not saying I'm a proponent for this, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. And to another point, the recommendation on the safety and the staffing, the recommendation for that, not the top. I'm just unclear on where that recommendation, and I'm not pointing a finger at anybody, is coming from. And let me just say, safety, I don't understand that. I don't see it unless somebody can tell me a different safety hazard that we have currently at that field and what the additional safety issue is. I don't see it.
Well, it would have to do with obviously the number of people that are up there, what the capacity that it would be able to hold. If it's at a Friday night football game, obviously we would have to have, security up there to make sure if it's open and we have kids up there that they're being monitored. Plus, in the location that it's going to be, you're talking about, like, if you have a railing in the front of it, the people who are up against that railing, the first row, would be able to see, but anybody standing behind them, unless it's built a certain way, really wouldn't be able to see anything anyway. So I know that for us, at least from our perspective, we're looking at, again, having to have additional staff, maybe security up there, and then anything up there as far as safety. Like I said, it would have to be a capacity, what the maximum weight would be that it could hold, and really just any inappropriate behavior that's going on up there.
Well, and Jeff, I've had this conversation, and I get that, but those problems are the same problems that we have across that field at any given time, and it wasn't long ago. And for the people that come from this community, how they lost that, they lost it. We lost the hill. The argument when we built the field there, when that field got changed and not come out to the high school, was that hill was there and it was inside this community. And then we took the hill away from the kids. And we took it away from the kids and the families sitting there, just like they do in Williamsport, and we wrapped it around safety and security. Same problems are going to be there no matter what. We're going to have adequate security, whether we have a rooftop or whether we have people standing along the railings. Right now, we have a capacity in that football field. Go anytime to any game, look at the amount that the band takes up, and look at the number of people in the seats. It's capacity full, and everybody's around the railings. And I'm not advocating for this. I'm just saying I don't understand. I understand the reasonings. I'm just not buying completely into those reasonings. Tim?
Can I just clarify for people before you add your thing, Tim? Sorry, I just feel like we turned into part of a conversation about this that wasn't stated. So we're talking about specifically the viewing platform right now.
Correct.
No,
And,
what we're
the
talking.
idea of taking that off of the project.
And I apologize.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you were at the
just
last
that's
one.
a little different than the team room. I understand what's going on. I'm saying this for the public now that's hearing
Yeah.
this part of the discussion.
Well-
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, the team room is at the table as an informational item, but from last week's 2 weeks board meeting, we asked for a recommendation from the administration on 2 topics. Number 1 was the platform on the top and the walkway from the team room that extended around. And they gave us a pricing on that. So the board, as they move forward, if they're going to look at this informational item, and if it moves to an action item, has to make a decision. Do they follow the administration's recommendation and not do leave out those 2 items and still build the team room, or scrap the whole project altogether? I mean, it's rather cut and dry.
Mr. President, I have another question. So the high school students can't use the middle school locker room when the middle school is using it, but the team's room won't have lockers. Is that right?
That is correct.
So I think the intention, things that I'm hearing that I didn't hear before in the conversation were the team room for privacy, right? For kids that need to be in there to get ready for their thing. Team room for medical needs and assessing injuries and things like that, which I do understand that. I think that's important to have near the field. And the safety for lightning, which is also a real thing in terms of getting people into a space inside quickly whenever that happens. So those are just the 3 big things I'm hearing that feel newer to me in the conversation. And I did not mean to cut Tim off. I know he was about to say something, so I'm going to turn it back over.
No, I just want to reiterate. I mean, I know that into Jeff Massner's defense, you weren't here when the stadium was built. You didn't see the people that, because it was going to go to high school. They wanted here, they wanted the Hill. It was opened, and I think for 1 year, the Hill was open, and that was the end of it. It does give people a perspective from that end of the field who appreciated that for years, that been coming to these games. And also, the stadium is packed, and a lot of people and I will say this because this is me, I can't sit in the bleachers. It kills my back just to sit there for that long time, so I stand. But I agree that if you did this the first game, first maybe 2 games, it's going to be new, it's going to be the thing, and it's going to be, a lot of people's going to want to try to get on it. But you're going to realize being at a concert, everybody standing there, you're not going to see nothing. So you might have 2-3 rows of people there on a consistent basis behind that railing, but that's all you're going to have. It's not going to be 300-400 people standing on that roof. That's not going to happen. But everybody would be able to stand on the rail the whole way along that walk path and along there. And our seating capacity at the stadium on the home side is packed. We do not have enough seating for our home side. And home side people are not going to go on the visitor side and sit there and watch the football game. That's not going to happen. So it does benefit, have a lot of uses. As far as maintenance goes, it's no different than the rest of the maintenance we have at the rest of the stadium. The railings are the same. It's all going to be the same stuff. And the security doesn't stand at the mezzanine all day either. They walk around that stadium. Nobody's standing there making sure nobody's climbing the rail at the mezzanine. It's no different. They're just going to walk up to there. They're going to walk back around like they always do. It's not going to change.
I'm sorry that I missed this, but why is the viewing platform a security issue or a safety issue? What was the
It's
reason?
more of, we were looking at more of as a security, like we feel that we would need to have somebody up there just to make sure that the people who are up there are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Are we concerned about safety? Are we concerned people will fall off of it?
I don't want to
I'll
say people would fall off of it, but again, if something does happen up there, we want to make sure we have somebody up there to control it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like if it's a safety issue, is that a non-starter for us? Do we just stop there? We're concerned about people's safety and well-being. Therefore, it probably is not something we should pursue.
Well, it's no different than the mezzanine. So if you've been to the stadium, you have a mezzanine that just is over top of the track. There's no difference. If you were on that rooftop or you're at the mezzanine, it's the same safety issue. There's no difference.
Has there been an artist's rendering of this so that we can see?
Yes, but there he is. Do you have that available, Kevin? Thank you.
Give us a moment. We have a couple of documents we can share. She's just not.
We're having technical difficulty.
So as that's coming up, I'll go back to my original question. Again, as we're looking at the possibility of losing income with federal rescission, is this a must-have or is this a nice-to-have?
So on the screen is the closest thing we have to an artist rendition of this. It's set into the hillside. So the bottom of the building will be at grade and the back of the building will be essentially at grade as well. So you have a roughly 30-degree incline from the front of the building to the back of the building and a fence all the way around.
How do the fans from the opposing team get over to their locker rooms? Is it like, are they going to be walking in front of those doors, or do they have to?
I guess I'm not understanding your question. I mean, if they're on the field, there are two gates. They'll be shuttled out towards the end where the 100-yard dash kind of runs out. There's a big 12-foot gate right there, and then there's a 10-foot gate that's going to be more centralized a little to the right of the center door you see there, that so they can both come out and take a slight left and be separate the whole time until they're on the field.
So back to my question, does it just kind of stay lingering as rhetorical without an answer tonight?
Your question of, is it a must-have or a nice-to-have?
Let me just say this. Several years ago, when we finished the beautiful middle school that we have, and it's a beautiful building, the people on the board and administration, most of them are not here tonight, built a middle school that would not accommodate high school kids that were involved in co and extracurricular activities. They built the facilities there for early adolescent kids. I'm not sure why all that happened, and at the time when that was being built, it wasn't built to accommodate for what we're talking about tonight, which is why we're here, and that's really unfortunate. So we're inheriting a situation that's been a kind of a problem for quite a while. I do think this is resolving it to a high degree as we move forward. And yes, it's expensive, and whether it's a nice to have or a needed, I do think it's needed for high school students to be accommodated to meet their needs. We should have done this when the middle school was built, no question about that. But we don't own that situation.
Belinda,
Thank you, Dr. Moyer.
Belinda, just going back to 2 meetings ago, the funding for this is already here, correct? This is not something we're going out and doing something new. I mean, the funding, this has been set aside.
This is the second go-around of our bid documents.
Okay.
This has been in the Finance and Facility Committee meeting now for some time. It has been gone around many times, discussed many times, what the rendering is going to look like, the decisions of how the team rooms are going to be set up. And before we even move forward to this point, like if this bid's denied, there's no moving backwards simply because we've got to approve or reject the bids. So there's the likelihood of us going back out again is not very high, but basically the team room project is going to be funded by some funds that were available in the capital reserve as well as the bond money. And those bond monies need to be spent down, as I mentioned numerous times with this board.
And that's my point, because I don't want to wake up tomorrow and read in the paper that Gettysburg School District is building this elaborate building and we were not fiscally responsible. We have bond money that has to be used one way or the other. And
That's
this is
correct.
what the administration and this board looked at over a long time to accommodate, as Al Moyer said. This didn't come in the last half a year or the last year. And it's not something where we're going to come back in a budget meeting, a new board next year and go, by the way, we built this and now we have to look at a change of tax rate. This money was already been set aside and fiscally responsibly saved to do this project if we chose to do it.
There was money set aside to do the bleachers. The capital projects had the bleachers in. This project has to address the bleachers as well as the team room. And the capital projects and the bond fund will take care of funding whatever option the board so chooses to approve this evening. Not this evening, next meeting, excuse me.
President Hessinger, I'm so glad you asked that question because that took away a lot of my heartburn.
Yeah, and I recognize, because you had told us that before, but knowing on the bonds and knowing that, I recalled that, okay, we're good. Are there any additional questions on this particular informational item?
Kind of related, not really, but where are we on replacing the turf? Because that's 11 years old now.
I can speak to that. The turf is on the capital plan for looking at it the 26-27 year, and as long as we continue to receive excellent reports from the inspections, it's going to continue not to be addressed until we have a need to address the field.
I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad you asked that question, because I won't be on the board, and the board coming in new should take up the mantle that we tried to do before, and the speakers this evening spoke about, is the facilities that we have at the high school and everything else in terms of putting turf here. We ran into that issue with the injuries with the football team down below practicing here several years ago, and that can has been kicked to the curb so many times. So in terms of a fiscal responsibility, the new board should start looking.
And
at
as an
making-
economy of scale, when we replace the field at the high school is when we should be looking at other fields simply at that time, not to do something back to back, but to look at it at the same time.
Thank you. 7.3, the policy 249, bullying and cyberbullying. Are there any questions from the board?
Yes, hi, thank you. I do have a question. And Dr. Moyer, help me understand this. I think the subhead that we're looking to modify, which reads Title IX, Sexual Harassment and Other Discrimination, exists because this is the only section of this policy that refers to federal law against discrimination, which I think is why that language is in that subheading. So why are we thinking about removing that language?
I'm going to defer to Dr. Dalton on that.
I'll speak for you. Discrimination and harassment happens on many, many bases. Title IX is specific to that happening on a basis of sex. But when PSBA had inserted that language, it seemed really honed in on Title IX versus any Title VI, Title VII, other areas that there could be discrimination based on protected classes. So we removed the reference to Title IX to make it generally applicable, whether it's federal or state, was less of the concern. Yeah.
Thank you. Sure.
Anything additional? 7.4, policy 822, it's AED policy related to CPR. Any questions? 7.5, policy 918, Title I, parent and family engagement. Any questions? 7.6, AG 707, use of school facilities. Any questions?
Not a question, but a quick remark as the policy committee chair. We made minor changes to all 4 of these policies that were out here at our last policy committee meeting. I've also asked Dr. McFarland, who probably deals with our title funds and titles federal monies to possibly to share some feedback regarding family engagement and how we're doing in that regard. I just know over the years, many times it's tough to get families in for programs that are related to that. So I think the board would be interested in seeing how we're doing in that regard. And then also, I just want to thank our athletic director and Dr. Matzer for their support in the small change that we made to policy 707 with the use of school facilities. The only change we made was for the fee structure of using the stadium on Sundays for the youth football program, which is a strong feeder program to our program, where we lessened the amount of the hourly rental for using the facility. That'll be a big help to all those volunteers that help out with our youth football program. And on behalf of all of them, I just want to say a big thank you to the school district for making that change. Thank you.
We good? No additional questions, board committee reports?
We just debated mine, so.
I don't know if it was a debate, but okay.
We talked about policy, and then real quickly, as a legislative liaison, according to Torrin Ecker, we are going to have a state budget in early October. Belinda, I don't know what you're hearing. It'll be that's probably optimistic. And then also on a side note, two thank yous here. The high school wrestling team, the girls and guys wrestling team, and the coaches all participated in Saturday's United Way National Day of Caring. And on a personal note, from the rec park, two of the teams were out there helping us with a number of different projects. And I would just want to say a big personal thank you to our high school wrestling team. We have great role models in our coaches, and the kids were fantastic. And then also, recently, Dave Snyder from the Adams County Technical Institute, the trades teacher, had his senior class also out to the rec park. I think our Habitat for Humanity projects have been on hold for a little bit, hopefully not too much longer, but we are going to provide some projects for them. The initial one will be to install our new North End playground that we got through a county green space grant. So a big thank you to Dave Snyder, Adams County Technical Institute, for their assistance with us out there to provide some great community resources for the kids in our community. Thank you.
Program reports?
Yeah, just very quickly, a reminder that Friday is a professional development day, so there is no school for students. Just a quick congratulations to the football team for their win this past weekend. It was homecoming weekend, and the homecoming ceremony at halftime was spectacular. And I've heard nothing but good things about the dance on Saturday as well. So congratulations to all involved.
Mr. Hessner, I just have a quick comment. Because this doesn't happen very often. So, to some of our administrators. So I had a friend of mine called me pretty irate about their kid getting punished at middle school and so on and so forth. And I was like, well, you need to call the school, set up a meeting, whatever you have to do. And he was pretty irate. I calmed him down. And then he called me back 2 days later. And I have to give a shout out to, and I cannot remember his name because I can't remember his name, but the vice principal at the middle school. He had the best things to say about him. He said very professional, knew what he was talking about, a great guy. He said he's a good one. So I wanted to say that, you don't get to hear those stories very often, so I wanted to give him a shout out.
That would be Matt Lobb, our middle school assistant principal.
Yes, he did a great job, and kudos.
Thank you.
Our next meeting will be October 6th, obviously 2025, 7 o'clock here in the administration building. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
We stand adjourned.
And Jeff.